My film is Waiting for the Barbarians, screenplay by J.M. Coetzee, who wrote the book Waiting for the Barbarians, and directed by Ciro Guerra in 2019, with Johnny Depp and Robert Pattinson. This movie is about a frontier town in the British Empire, and it's fictitious because it appears to be a desert fortification where there are Eastern people outside the fortifications, and the British had no outposts in Central Asia. But I think that's a device that Coetzee is using to make his points, which come clear. And so there's some really interesting legal angles in the film. The film portrays three different classes of people living in this frontier area. There are the British magistrate and military police who occupy the fortification. Also inside the fortification are these indigenous townspeople. They appear to be people of color, but they speak English and they do commerce with the British. And then outside the fortification are the barbarians of the film's title, really just a primitive style of life, nomadic people, indigenous people who live in the region. And that's what the film refers to, again, as barbarians. And you see law in the film treat these people in three different ways, each to its class. So the barbarians are treated horribly by the military police. They're rounded up at random, they're tortured, they're murdered arbitrarily. The police are trying to drum up evidence of a barbarian invasion which doesn't exist. And it's clear that they're not even people. There are narrative references in the film to the notion that they're not even people. So they have no rights. They have no rule of law applies to them. They can be treated no better than animals. And that actually is explicitly stated in the film. Then you have the middle tier of justice, which applies to the townspeople. And you see one scene where a townsperson has a pig that's rampaged on another townsperson's garden, and they bring this conflict to the magistrate. And he sort of hears the one person's complaint, hears the response of the other person, and then he rules. So he says, you have his pig, okay, give it back. And that's it. So it's the Solomonic wisdom or feudal lord kind of approach to justice, where there's no real body of law that's applying. It's just this ad hoc common sense wisdom. And this magistrate is the final arbiter. But at least there's sort of some entitlement to be heard and have some kind of reasoned judgment returned, even if you're not satisfied with it. So that's kind of middle tier of justice. And then in the course of the film, the magistrate himself is arrested and charged with treason because he treats the nomadic people humanely. And there we see yet a third iteration of justice, because even though he is treated pretty harshly, he's tortured pretty brutally by the military police when he's arrested. He is, in one scene, he's milling about, and the Robert Pattinson police officer character says to him, shouldn't you be working? And he says back, by law, a prisoner being held over for trial cannot be subject to forced labor. And that kind of shows us that even though he's been accused of treason, as a British citizen, he sort of has these rights, high tier of rights imported from British due process all the way out there to the frontier. So he's treated the best. And I think these three iterations of justice really well reflect what Coetzee's trying to achieve, because they show the moral relativism of the British in the colonial enterprise, from treating people as non-people all the way up to sort of the height of British entitlement. And I know that's part of it, Coetzee's anti-imperialist message, so the film accomplishes that. I liked it, I recommend it. It's a beautiful film, but the scenes with torture are brutal, so you have to watch with a strong stomach. Thanks for hearing me out.